When I pushed the door open, the scene hit me like a physical blow. A girl was perched on Caleb's lap. Beige silk blouse, black pencil skirt, the standard uniform for the executive assistants. She tried to look mature, professional, but on her, it just looked like a costume. She looked completely out of her depth. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Shame flushed her cheeks crimson. She scrambled, trying to peel herself off him, but Caleb didn't flinch. He just lifted his heavy eyelids, shooting me a bored glance. His arm tightened around her waist, locking her in place. "Don't be scared," he murmured, his voice a low, soothing rumble. "I've got you." That face, that devastatingly handsome, arrogant face, the tenderness in his tone was a weapon. The room spun. Suddenly, I was 19 again. He used to use that exact tone on me, coaxing me into kisses, into his arms, coaxing me into that hotel room. "Don't be scared. Trust me. Give yourself to me." And now, same words, same gentle weapon, just a newer, younger target. A laugh bubbled up in my throat, broken, sharp. Caleb reeked of alcohol, his eyes swimming with a hazy, arrogant intoxication. "Isla, what's so funny?" I choked back the laugh. The coldness spread from my chest to my fingertips, numbing the pain. "Caleb," I said, my voice barely a whisper but steady as steel. "We're done." I didn't wait for him to finish. I didn't acknowledge the room full of people who had suddenly gone deathly silent. I just reached for my left hand. 5 years. I slid the plain silver band off my ring finger. Cling. I dropped it onto the glass coffee table in front of Caleb. Then, I turned and walked. Caleb didn't stop me. He didn't even shift his weight to chase after me. Why would he? We'd been together for 5 years. He was the city's untouchable new money king. And me? I was just a nobody anchor on a failing morning show. Even after walking in on him with another woman on his lap, no one believed I had the guts to say the word breakup. As the door clicked shut, voices leaked through the wood. "Isla's just posturing. She's just trying to save face." "Caleb, bro, maybe go smooth things over tonight." "Not necessary." Caleb's laugh was low, arrogant. "Go ahead, ask her. You think she has the guts to walk away? I'm the only reason she has a foothold in this city. I gave her a home." His voice carried the weight of a god looking down at a peasant. "She won't leave. She can't afford to." My hand froze on the cold brass handle. I stood there, motionless. I forced my spine straight, locking my knees to keep from collapsing, but my eyes betrayed me. Tears crashed down, hot, uncontrollable. At 19, I was alone, starving for a family. He promised me a home, and I fell hard. Years later, that promise was just a knife he used to carve out my heart. It's always the ones closest to you. They know exactly where to insert the blade to cause the most damage. 3 days. I spent 72 hours holed up in the apartment, erasing my existence. Mutual friends blew up my phone, fishing for gossip. I ghosted them all. I packed with the precision of a surgeon. My heart was a flatline. On the last night, I did a final sweep. Not a single stray hair left behind. I called a ride. The moving truck vanished around the corner, and then the sky tore open. A thunderstorm. My personal hell. My parents died in a storm like this. Tires skidding on the wet ear. The sickening plunge into dark water. For 5 years, Caleb was my shield. Every time the thunder rolled, he held me. I used to be pathetic, clinging to him like he was oxygen. Now, I didn't need him. I couldn't afford to need him. The Uber crawled into the deluge. Sheets of rain hammered the glass, turning the world into a gray blur. I stared out, numb. Suddenly, screech. The car jerked. The engine died. The brakes locked too late. Thud. A car behind us slammed into our bumper. It wasn't a bad hit, but my heart hammered against my ribs. I whipped my head around. Through the waterfall on the rear window, a silhouette loomed. A Rolls-Royce Phantom, black on black, silent, lethal. It sat there like a steel fortress waiting out the flood. My driver opened his mouth to curse, then snapped it shut. His face drained of color. A rear door opened. A black umbrella unfurled, cutting through the storm. A man stepped out. Italian leather shoes splashed into the rushing water running down the gutter. He walked toward my stranded car. The umbrella tilted. The street lights caught the sharp, icy angles of his face. My breath hitched. My eyes went wide. "Axel?" Axel stared at me. His face was a mask of indifference, but his eyes, a dark, predatory amusement pooled in his gaze. What a coincidence. The Rolls-Royce glided into the subterranean garage of Axel's private estate. The silence was absolute. The driver vanished before the engine block cooled. Axel didn't wait. His hand snapped out, fingers locking around my jaw in a vice grip. He didn't ask. He crashed his mouth onto mine. Panic glared. I shoved at his chest, twisting, fighting for air. Useless. He clamped my wrists with one hand, pinning them against the leather seat. His voice dropped to sub-zero. "When you set that trap for me years ago, did you ever picture this reckoning? Bone ground against bone." My wrists screamed under the pressure. I had no defense. The guilt was a stone in my throat. "I'm sorry," I gasped, the words fracturing. "Axel, I'm so sorry. It didn't matter if I was a pawn. It didn't matter if I was innocent. He was played. His reputation took the hit. That was the only truth that mattered. Save the apologies." His grip tightened, cutting off circulation. "Isla, last time, I didn't touch a single hair on your head, but I still carried the brand of a predator." His eyes darkened, scanning my face with lethal intent. "Tonight, I might as well earn the reputation I've already paid for." Axel's thumb brushed a drop of rain from the corner of my trembling mouth. The blood drained from my face. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. "Axel, please, don't look for mercy." He hooked a finger under my strap and dragged it down my arm. "Slow, deliberate. You know exactly what I am. I'm a hard man, Isla, with an even harder heart." I squeezed my eyes shut, blocking out his predatory gaze. The memory of the scandal washed over me. 2 weeks of hell. Axel's name dragged through the mud, labeled a predator. He lost a massive deal because of it. A deal Caleb snatched up. Coincidence? Misunderstanding? Axel wouldn't care. Men like him don't swallow insults. They choke you with them. "Not here," I whispered. My fingers trembled as I clutched the fabric of his sleeve. A pathetic attempt at control. "Please, Axel, not in the car." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. It didn't reach his eyes. "Save your breath, Isla." He leaned back, pulling me with him. "You can do your begging in the bedroom." Caleb hadn't touched me in a year. My body had forgotten the sheer violence of desire. It had forgotten how to yield. Axel hadn't even fully seated himself inside me before my body rebelled. Pain, sharp and tearing, shot through my core. I couldn't help it. I slammed my fist against his shoulder. My teeth sank into the muscle of his forearm. Axel, stop. Get out. I was vibrating. A cold sweat slipped my forehead, mingling with the heat of the room. Axel wasn't faring much better. His jaw was locked tight enough to snap bone. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, a jagged movement against his throat. Guess your man wasn't up to the task, Isla, he rasped, his voice sounding like gravel grinding on glass. Don't talk about him. I squeezed my eyes shut, refusing to look at the predator hovering over me. Caleb and I are done. He's nothing to me. Axel froze. He stared down at me, his gaze unreadable, heavy. Then, he moved. He withdrew completely. Air hit damp skin. The pressure vanished. My lungs expanded, sucking in a greedy breath of relief. My grip on his arm loosened, my fingers uncurling. That was a mistake. Axel's hands clamped onto my waist like steel bands. He didn't give me a second warning. He slammed back in. It was a volcano erupting into molten magma. My fingernails gouged into his skin, leaving crescent moon trails. A broken cry was torn from my throat, shattered by the impact. Outside, the storm screamed. Sheets of rain hammered the glass, a wall of noise that drowned out the wet, desperate sounds filling the room. Hours later, the rain hadn't stopped. Axel carried me to the floor-to-ceiling window. I was limp, drenched in sweat, plastered against his chest. My phone buzzed, again and again, a relentless, angry vibration cutting through the afterglow. Caller ID, Caleb. My fingers shook so hard I nearly dropped the device. I slid to answer. You moved out? Caleb's voice was flat, zero emotion, just a boss asking for a status report. I pressed my forehead against the freezing glass. The cold shock grounded me. Yes, I croaked. When? Tonight. The weather's hell out there, he said, the words dripping with casual arrogance. You could have waited until tomorrow. I almost laughed. It was so absurd. So Caleb. Before I could answer, the phone was ripped from my ear. I whipped my head around. Axel pressed me flat against the window. His body was a furnace against my back. He glanced at the glowing screen, his eyes dark with malice. He brought the phone to my ear, let the silence hang for a heartbeat, then tapped the red button. Click. Rain's bad, Isla, Axel murmured, echoing his words from the garage. Why not stay at my place tonight? I shook my head. My wet hair was plastered to my spine. The contrast, his black suit trousers, my pale, exposed skin, was a stark shock against the city lights. Axel lowered his head. He planted a kiss on the sensitive part of my neck. Again, I didn't push him away. I just looked at the rain. If we do this, I whispered, are we even? The debt, is it paid? The temperature in Axel's eyes dropped 50 degrees. He smiled. It was terrifying. He reached out, tangling his long fingers in my damp hair. He wrapped the strands around his hand once, twice. A leash. He tugged, forcing my head back, forcing my throat bare. You want to call it even? His other hand clamped onto my jaw, tilting my face up to meet his abyss-black gaze. Fine. Then let me earn that accusation you pinned on me, Isla. His thumb pressed against my bottom lip. Let's make the crime real. That's how we get even. A phantom current buzzed against my scalp. It wasn't pain. Axel wasn't hurting me. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. He was holding back. Even during the violence of the last hour, he had been leashing himself. The size difference between us was a mathematical impossibility. If he really wanted to vent his rage, if he truly wanted to make the crime real, I wouldn't be standing. I would be torn apart. I was the only one suffering, and only because my body wasn't ready. Maybe it was because we had just crossed the final line. Once skin touches skin in that way, the chemistry in the room changes. The fear evaporates, replaced by something heavier. I looked up at him. I didn't tremble. I didn't beg. I smiled. Fine, Axel, make it real. I rose on my tiptoes. My body pressed against the wall of muscle that was his chest. I placed a soft, deliberate kiss on the corner of his mouth. Just one condition, I whispered against his skin. Don't leave a mark. I have to be on camera. It was the first time I had ever initiated. The first time I tried to play his game. Axel's eyelids lowered. He leaned into the kiss, his voice dropping to a gravelly low that vibrated in my chest. Isla, you have a second option. What option? His hand slid down my spine, resting heavily on my lower back. Take the lead. Make me come. If you do it right, maybe I'll let you off the hook.